Okay, let's, this thing on?
Yep.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting, January 7th, 2020. Can we have a moment of silence?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get approval of the agenda, except we're removing the executive sessions for later? All in favor?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second. Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Comments from the public? Well, hearing none, let's move on. Consent agenda?
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10.
Budget Amendment, Home Doc Cities Contribution, Resolution Number 20-002.
I guess Kim.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The City of North Kansas City is a member of the Home Doc Cities Association, a group of cities in Missouri whose purpose is to promote the interests of member municipalities that have riverboat casinos within their jurisdiction. Until recently, the association did little more than serve as an information sharing resource, and it met occasionally both inside and outside the MML league conferences. Last March, however, concerns emerged about proposed state legislation that would legalize the placement of slot machines within bars, convenience stores, gas stations, and other establishments. This was seen as a threat to the riverboat casino industry, and members were asked to chip in on a one-time basis to hire a lobbyist to keep tabs on this legislation, keep us, the Home Doc cities, informed, as well as to advocate on our interests with this legislation. NKC, we were asked to, actually all the Home Doc cities were asked to put in $3,500, and we did so. Ultimately, this legislation did not pass, but it is expected to be reintroduced in the next cycle. Members are now being asked to contribute to the same efforts as before, but this time we're being asked to contribute according to the chart outlined in your memo based on the revenue generated by your casino. So for North Kansas City, we would fall in the $5 to $15 million bracket. So our contribution request is $15,000. If all member cities were to contribute to this proposal, it is outlined within your memo, but the grand total for that would be $110,000. The same proposal that is coming before you today, this budget request, is being presented to all the Home Doc cities. What that is to go for, the budget that has been proposed to us is the retention of a lobbyist at $15,000, a communication specialist $7,000, and legal work at $3,000. So the grand total of the budget would be $60,000. If there were any funds that would be within this account by July 15th of next year, that money would be remitted back to the contributing municipalities at a prorated rate. Council, in accordance with this request, staff has prepared a budget amendment for your consideration, and council should be aware that this contribution structure is actually going to be proposed as bylaw amendments to the Home Dock Cities Association as membership fee. So we do anticipate this request being on an annual basis, and it would come forward through the normal budget process through the next year. Does-
So, okay. So if it's on an annual basis and the VLT legislation passes, I mean, was their intent still to keep that number that high?
No.
Or is
No, I do
this is just,
believe-
as long as we're
Correct.
staving this off here, then we're gonna go 15,000. Okay. And then who is the point of contact gonna be for the lobbyist and communication specialist? Do you know?
That's going to be right now it's serving as Mayor Rhodes, but
Mayor-
some,
okay, yeah. Okay,
Some of
perfect.
that's going to be a more formalized process that we would be getting written statements.
Okay, so everyone's gonna be receiving.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
In attending the MML conferences and attending these Dock City meetings, I believe it is important for us to protect the gaming income if we can. So I am in favor of us contributing to the fund. This chart that is set out for the total contributions of $112,500, that's if all cities contribute. I will say that in attending the meetings that some of the St. Louis cities, I don't know if they are going to contribute or have, but, you know, that's something that if it's written into the bylaws, I think would be good. But notoriously in the past, they haven't donated. I'm not calling anybody out, but just, you know, stating facts. So that's something that we want to be aware of. But I think it is important to be a part of this to protect our interests.
Jesse?
When the legislation came up this past session, was it a close vote, or was it anywhere, do we know why it was voted down?
I don't have that information with me, but I can get that information for you. It wasn't, I do know that a delegation, including, I believe, the mayor, went down to testify as part of this legislation. I can get you some of those vote numbers. I don't have that handy, though.
Not to jump in, but, and part of that, it was in committee, got referred out of committee, but it never did make the floor, I believe, on the Senate or House, right?
So it never made it to the floor.
There was really a vote on it.
Right.
Okay. And you guys have kept a lot closer tabs, that's why
Yeah.
It's definitely important to protect the gaming fund for sure, but other states have had this kind of legislation passed, right? West Virginia, I think, was one of them that it's allowed. How did that impact the casino revenues? Because
They told
say
me
for-
probably about 20% of the total revenue for the riverboat.
Illinois is probably the state that's most akin to us. Illinois did have that, and it did have very detrimental effects on their casino industry.
It definitely seems like this could be a make or break year for it too, because it's been getting closer and closer. I think last year it seemed like more than anything they just ran out of time.
Yeah.
They had other stuff come up, more important priorities, push those forward. And I was just messaging our representative before the meeting today, and he said, you know, it's not looking great because they're really wanting to push it this year and push it early. So we'll see.
I mean, in general, I agree. I'm in favor of moving in this direction. I'm curious about the other cities and if there's any history of how many of them have passed anything, budget amendment or anything related to that. And my second question is, this item today, in tonight's agenda is really just a budget amendment, correct? It's not actually an agreement or anything like that. So I'm fine with the budget amendment. I guess I'm curious about where the other cities are. Not that, I mean, maybe if we would decide still to do it, I'm just curious about where they are.
To answer you, yes, this is just a budget amendment, but we can make sure as we find out what other cities are participating that we relay that information.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Jesse?
the other odd thing is Kansas City only being asked to pay $20,000 when they've got 2 casinos. That's take a little exception to that. I don't know if we can correspond back to the Home Dock group and ask if Kansas City could be asked to pay for their full stipend if we're going to also contribute. Yeah, it sounds like at least amending the budget so we're allowed to make the payment if we need to. It seems like the other concern is that it would become part of the bylaws. That seems like a bit overreach. It's almost like it should go year to year, but I'm not running Home Dock, so.
Okay, have we got a motion?
I'll move, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, who made the motion?
Myself.
Thank you.
Okay.
Number 11, waiver of right of first refusal, Save a Lot Building, Bill number 7477, ordinance number 9274.
Kim?
I'd like to call on the city councilor, Tom Barzee.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the item before you this evening deals with the Save-A-Lot store. And just briefly and historically, the city owned that particular piece of property before there was any building on it. And back in 1998, it entered into a ground lease with Randall's Foods to come onto the property to build the building, the parking lot, according to certain terms and conditions set forth in the ground lease. About a year later, Randall's Foods, then known as RSI, leased that property, transferred its interest in the property to Neiman Foods, Inc. And Neiman Foods, Inc. has operated this as the tenant on this site ever since then. As is becoming more and more, I guess, common, Neiman Foods has decided to put its properties in different ownerships, and this one would be under Neiman Holdings, LLC. In order to do that under the terms of the ground lease, the city has the first right of refusal to acquire the interest that the tenant has in the property. Namely, not the ownership of the land, that stays with the city. They don't have that, but they do have control of the building. They built the buildings, et cetera, or the building on the site. And so they come to the city, and there's a bona fide offer, from what we've been told and shown, of $900,000, and that it would transfer from Neiman Foods, Inc. to Neiman Holdings, but they have to come, again, like I said, and give the city the first right of refusal of acquiring that. From a staff standpoint, we know of no reason why the city would want to acquire that interest, and therefore we're recommending that the council approve this refusal of the first right, this right of first refusal to acquire it, and to allow this to be assigned over to the interests of Neiman Foods, Inc. to Neiman Holdings. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have, but in a nutshell, that's what this is about.
On this right of, the waiver of the right of first refusal, it is
Correct.
specific to this transaction, correct? It doesn't waive our future rights.
Oh, of course not.
First
It does not.
refusal. It's specific
Absolutely
to this
not.
transaction between these
It's-
two entities.
Right. In fact, the ground lease anticipates things like this happening during the course of it, and they have to come to us, but the lease does specifically say, and that we would not unreasonably deny them the right to do this. But yes, if this is going to be transferred or assigned to someone in the future, they still have to come back to the city to do it. And where the first 20 years of the ground lease has expired, then there's 3 5-year options. They've exercised the first one of those 5-year options, and we're in that time period right now. At the end of the lease, all of this will come ultimately to the city.
Does it look like a supermarket will remain there?
As far as, you know,
Although it may not.
as far
It
as
may
we
or may
know,
not,
yeah, as far as we know, yes, the supermarket's going to remain there. They're just putting it
But
into a holding
not
company.
necessarily, though. That's what I'm getting at. Supermarket would not necessarily have to remain there under this.
That is correct. That is correct.
First reading.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance waiving the city's first right of refusal to acquire tenants' interest in certain real property owned by the city, generally located at 2751 Burlington Street, North Kansas City, Clay County, Missouri, and authorizing Neiman Foods Incorporated to transfer its interest under the ground lease as tenant in such real property to Neiman Holdings LLC.
I move that bill number 7477 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9274.
Second. Call the roll.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr.
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance waiving the city's first right of refusal to acquire tenants' interest in certain real property owned by the city, generally located at 2751 Burlington Street, North Kansas City, Clay County, Missouri, and authorizing Neiman Foods Incorporated to transfer its interest under the ground lease as tenant in such real property to Neiman Holdings LLC.
Whoa.
2020 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement, Resolution 20-001.
Kim? I'm sorry.
That's A-okay. You're getting a rhythm. I'd like to call on the Public Works Director, Pat Hoffer.
Thank you. The city's participation in Mid-America Regional Council's Household Hazardous Waste Program allows residents to properly dispose of their hazardous waste items, which include paint, household cleaners, garden chemicals, motor oil, pesticides, batteries, bug spray, fluorescent bulbs, and other hazardous material. The program is a way to encourage residents to divert hazardous waste and contaminants from area landfills, which would eventually seep into underground streams. The North Kansas City residents can dispose of their household hazardous waste by taking their materials to the disposal site located on Dramus Avenue in Kansas City, which is located just south of the Choteau Bridge. The Dramus site is open Thursdays and Fridays at 9 to 6 and Saturdays from 9 to 4. North Kansas City's cost for participation in this year's program is $4,846.03, which is based on a per capita rate of $1.07. And that happens to be the same rate as they charged last year. According to the 2018 U.S. Census population estimate, the population in North Kansas City increased by 24 residents. So overall, we have a population, according to that census, of 44,529. A resolution is before you for your consideration of participating once again in this household hazardous waste program.
Pat, at one time, you had to call and make a reservation to bring your stuff over there. Is that still hold true?
No, this is way more convenient. It's just open now Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays.
So you can just load the truck up and,
Yeah.
as long as you've got proper ID, drop it off and go from there?
Yeah, you do have to show that you're a North Kansas City resident.
Okay.
Plan ahead by about an hour and a half. It takes a little while to get through the line sometimes.
Move to approve. No other question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 13.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through January 3rd, 2020. Bill number 7478, ordinance number 9275.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through January 3rd, 2020.
Move the bill number 7478 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9275.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through January 3rd, 2020.
Okay. Staff comment.
I would like to call your attention to several of the items on your agenda, the upcoming city items of note. the YMCA financial report, and the quarterly report on the status of city projects and purchases. If you have any questions about those, please let us know. We do have several staff comments this evening. I would like to call on the city clerk, Crystal Doss.
I put out in front of everybody on the desk the Harris Charitable Fund notebook and was wondering if we could set a meeting up for next Tuesday at 6, if everyone would be available to go through that.
I'm assuming then that will be our work session then.
I mean, it'll be a,
I mean, there'll be nothing else on the agenda.
Correct.
no, that's.
It'd be a
it.
special.
It's a special council meeting, and that's all we'll have, is just that.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's fine.
Does that date work for everyone?
What date?
Next Tuesday.
14th?
Next Tuesday at 6.
That's on the Harris thing.
And if, I copied all the applications and the backup and everything's in there, plus that chart for you to fill out what you think they should receive. But if you have any questions about them, feel free to call me and I'll tell you what I know. Or call Rita and she'll tell you what she knows. Just saying.
So a resident expert.
So that date will work for everybody?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to call on the fire chief, Dave Hargis.
I just wanted to give everybody an update about the Burger King. We were able to go down there Friday. We got the keys for it, and the crews have been down there training every day on it since then. So it now has an open air roof. I think they're going to finish up on it tomorrow, but we did have an opportunity to do some good training down there. So thank you.
So, and then just to follow up on that, demolition will actually begin on Thursday. So that's why they're wrapping up tomorrow. And then official demolition will begin on Thursday. They have 20 days to the contract to finish out those demolition activities on that site. So I'd like to provide just a quick update on the Armour Road Complete Street project. Last week, Municipal Services did a comprehensive replacement and reinstallation of all the delineators that have been kind of knocked down along the way on Armour Road. So that area has been complete, and you shouldn't see any delineator holes where there shouldn't be any. So I would like to call on the Police Chief, Steve Beamer.
This is the last one.
Short timer.
Yeah, I am. I just want to thank you for the privilege of serving as the chief. It's been an honor. Thank you.
On behalf of staff, we would like to thank Steve Beamer for his long-tenured service, not only to this community, but to this organization. Steve, we thank you for helping us make us a better organization. Thank you for your service. At this time, that's all that staff has for you.
Can I ask one question? On this Mill Street extension, where is Mill Street? The ARRA Mill Street extension.
That's the former Diamond Parkway.
I'm not sure what you're looking at. What's before you?
Project updates.
Yeah.
Oh,
Status.
so you may recall several years ago, before it was Diamond Parkway, we referred to that as Mill Street. And so is this in the current projects?
Yeah.
We called it in the budget several years ago, Mill Street Extension. That was the extension of Diamond Parkway from just south of Marodi's down to 16th Avenue. And it's still, I mean, it's complete, obviously, but I think that was just carryover from that original name that it was originally, the project in the budget was originally titled that.
Yes, it was referred to in fiscal year 2017 as Mill Street, so that carries forward, even though it's now known as Diamond Parkway.
Okay, well then, does that tie into this I-29 shared use path?
No, that's a different project.
Okay, is that the one that wants to hook 16th down to 14th?
Yes.
Have you talked to them? You want to run that down MoDOT right away?
Well, that project would be to examine whether it could fit into the MoDOT right-of-way or would need to go further to the east.
Oh, I see. Okay, I was just curious. Thank you. Okay. Brian?
want to welcome the scouts tonight. Looks like we got quite the troop out here, bigger than our normal contingency, so it's good to see so many out. And then also want to wish Chief Beamer the best in all his future endeavors. It's been good getting to know you over the last couple of years, and hope you enjoy retirement. That's it.
I'd also like to, wish you well, Chief Beamer. I'm sure we'll see you about, and I'm looking forward to going into the swearing in on Monday of our oncoming chief. I went by Hawaiian Brothers today, knowing I would not be able to eat there because it was so crowded. But obviously, that's a really good addition to our city because it was packed. It was packed in there.
It's open?
Yes, it opened today, and there were hundreds of people in that place. It was completely packed. So I'm really excited about it. Hope to actually eat there someday when it's not so packed. I'll drive by and see what the hours are. Pat's crew came through for my office today, in my office, and all the toilets exploded in the First Christian Church. Quite a smell, as you might imagine. And within an hour, his crew was there, hazmat people were, I don't know, everybody was there. And he's assured me that when I come back to work tomorrow, it will not smell nearly as bad as it did. But I shared with him a text that I got from the people who operate the church who complimented you and your staff on just an amazingly quick rescue, if you will, of that. So I appreciate that. That's all I have.
That sounds like an awful story.
It was awful. You don't want to know.
So it looks like the diagonal spaces in front of the post office are completed. It feels like there's some positive comments in the community on those, so work on getting that finished. Couple questions. If we could get a status report, I don't know if you know off the top of your head where we're at with tree removal and replanting in Mackin. Somebody know anything about that? Nope. Okay. We could.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get that information.
Some are down, yeah.
Yeah, some are down, I can tell you that.
I know we
Parks
had.
Board meeting's Thursday.
What's that?
Parks Board meeting Thursday.
Okay. I know there's been some talking back and forth about the plan to replant. So if we could just find out where that's at. And then the up and down Howell, the center posts have been consistently knocked out where the curb cuts have been. Eric told me at one point that I think the plan is to just leave them out for now, but I didn't know if there's any word on that. We're just leaving them.
At your next council agenda, Howell Street and some of the improvements that have been done on there is going to be some of the conversation that I know that staff was wishing to have with you all.
Very good. And that is all from me.
I just had a couple things. One, welcome to the Scouts. Nice to see you and glad you came because you're most of our audience tonight, so appreciate that. And I just wanted to say to Chief Beamer, I've only worked with you for, I guess, 5.5 years, but I have really enjoyed getting to know you, and I know it's a short part of your career. You have a very long and illustrious career here, but I have seen a little bit of it, and I have been very impressed and very grateful that I have gotten to know you, so thank you for being here, and thanks for all you've done.
Well, I'd like to, a couple of quick things. Also echo the comments on Chief Beamer. It's been a pleasure working with you. Been great getting to know you and being our chief. You've done a great job. You never did get me that SWAT assault rifle that I wanted, but that's okay. We'll go on from there.
Good plan.
Yeah, but we will miss you and thank you for your service to our city. I also want to welcome the Boy Scouts tonight, St. Patrick's Troop. So here in strong numbers, so appreciate y'all coming out and welcome. Also, I don't know, Eric's wife had surgery today, so we want to wish her well and speedy recovery. And let's see, I wanted to also state that I will be out of town the next meeting, so I will not be attending the next meeting, seeing family. So other than that, don't want to jinx the YMCA, looking good on the reports and hopefully get a good final year report on them. That's it.
Well, congratulations to Steve. I've known him since day one. He's making me feel old retiring. But, it's sure been a pleasure having you here at the city and a friend. And you have a wonderful mother. And we wish you the best in your retirement. You know, I didn't know the Hawaii place opened today, but I thought it did because
But something I didn't notice, and I'm on their route, did the school close the campus for lunch?
No, they were running around.
Were they running around?
Yep.
That's during my nap time normally.
Probably.
I didn't see it. And somebody tell me if they try the new Burger King that's open. I seen on TV where they got a hamburger that's not meat. Now, somebody's going to tell me how that is. I'm not going to test it myself. But somebody let me know if they try that. And, you know, we're usually congratulating all the city crews for snow removal by now. But we only had to do, knock on wood, or Formica, or whatever it is. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I'd also like to express appreciation for the Boy Scouts attending. Also, appreciation to Dave Wood for his reappointment to serve on the Planning Commission, reappointment of Robert McGee to serve on his reappointment to the Hospital Board. Upcoming events, tomorrow is Christmas tree pickup. That's tomorrow. Yard waste collection will resume March 4, so, you know, that's ceased in December, end of December. And also express, what do you say, appreciation to Steve Beamer for a long career. I've known him since he was a rookie. Probably better than most anybody around. So, been a long road, and I wish you the best. It's enjoyable. Every day is 5 o'clock. Now, and one other thing one last thing I'd like to mention here. I picked up this 2020 calendar. And on the 2020 calendar, there's a misprint, I think. I'm pretty sure. Lincoln's birthday is showing as January 8th. However, turn it over to February, and we have Lincoln's birthday on February 12th. I think that's a little more accurate. And I don't really like to bring that up, except several years ago, one of the calendars like this, it was printed, Cinco de Mayo was on May 4. Now, and all I'm asking, you know, anybody knows basic Spanish is Cinco de Mayo was translated as 5 of May.
I had that pointed out to me afterwards, but I didn't take Spanish in school.
Well, I just wish, you know, there ought to be some way to review this prior to the printing. I would assume it's the printers that are here.
No, it's mine.
I'm
But
sorry.
we have between 5 and 8 people review it before it goes out, so it just got missed.
I didn't know that. I didn't mean to embarrass you on that.
Well, I think Lincoln's birthday is worth celebrating twice.
It's 2 different Lincolns. I mean,
As is Cinco de Mayo. Good point, whoever said that. Cuatro de Mayo, Cinco de Mayo.
So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
There again, I'm glad the scouts are here. It's always good to see them come out and see how the other end of the world is. Waving to everybody out there. Steve, it's been my pleasure to sit across from you all these years. You and I always get to see each other. It seems like whether it was the first time I was on the council or here, every time you sat over there, we always looked eye to eye and whatever. But good luck on the next chapter of your life. I know it will be something exciting, something that you want to do. Not saying that you didn't want to do this, but there again, though, you can come and go as you please and do whatever. So good luck. That's all I have.
Hey, Chief, I'm noticing on the television that John Knox Village is trying to find a bartender. That's all I got. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.